Hi everyone, we're live. This is our webinar today on how to be courageous and getting you out of your comfort zone. So please say hi in the chat so that I know that you're here and that you can hear me okay. I'm watching the numbers go. So as always, I've got a lot that I want to cover in a 30-minute session. Please feel free to use the chat to ask questions, to respond to the things that I'm talking about. Love to hear where you're from. Great to see you too. And also love to hear why you're here. What do what's inspired you to come to a lunchtime webinar on being courageous? What is it that you're looking for? All right. I'd like to acknowledge the Gumbaynggirr peoples, upon whose country I'm currently sitting, as the traditional custodians of the lands upon which we meet today, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. I warmly welcome the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are present here today, and I have the flag there as an image of solidarity, noting that only in the last few weeks have we been given permission to be able to use that flag, for which I'm very grateful. And I've also got the AI Axis map of Indigenous Australia that shows all the different countries within Australia, which really gives a sense of the complexity of the culture and civilization that was here before we came along. Okay, what are people saying? I'm a chicken, new role at work. Some reasons to be fair. So I'm Nigel. At Uprise, I call myself a psychological coach. I'm a psychotherapist and counsellor, and a supervisor and a trainer of psychotherapists and counsellors, as well as doing lots of employee assistance program work like I do with Uprise, and lots of other trainings and providing of services to other organisations and individuals asking for a promotion. So post your questions and comments in the chat. You do that anyway. You'll get a recording sent to your email address at the end, and you'll get a link to a feedback form in the chat. It'd be great if you could fill that in, because I do like to see what the responses are. Okay, so there's a disclaimer for today, because it's a webinar on courage. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to scare the bejesus out of you. So there's a disclaimer. I'm going to do a webinar on courage by highlighting the things that we know that you're actually really terrified of. So the theory here is that by facing your fears is how you find courage, and you'll find there is, it's up front, the outcome of the webinar is that there's no such thing as not being afraid. The definition of courage is not being afraid. People who are very, very brave are very, very scared, just like all of us. But courage and bravery is about being scared and doing it anyway. So we're going to look at, what are you afraid of? I've got a list of 5 things that we are all terrified of. We're going to look at what it is to be courageous. I've already told you, be afraid, do it anyway. And what it means to make a choice to be courageous. And I've got lots to cover, so I'll get going. And please just respond. Be brave during a speech presentation. Okay, so what are you afraid of? So people are starting to name some of these things: facing a new role at work, asking for a promotion, being brave enough during a speech presentation, during a workshop. I'm scared right now. I'm scared. Before this here, sitting down here right now, I'm scared because I'm exposing myself. I'm being vulnerable. I'm taking a risk. I'm delivering a webinar that's been promoted to be about courage, and I'm making it all about fear. Which is like, oh, why are you going to scare us if you're trying to be courageous? Public speaking, presenting, that's a common fear. All right, let's keep going. So here's the 5. Here's the list of 5 things that you're afraid of, and this comes from a philosophy called existential philosophy, and then it's come into mental health through a range of psychiatrists and healers over the last 120 plus years, with one of the most prominent being a gentleman by the name of Dr. Irvin Yalom. And these are his this is his list of the ultimate concerns, he calls them, the things that all human beings are terrified of by virtue of just being a human being. People say, speaking my mind, sharing my opinion, that's scary. being in a high position at work, suffering from self-confidence issues, then to be more courageous about putting me out there, help to build self-esteem and self-confidence. We've got if you can find our webinar, maybe ask for it. We've got a webinar on imposter syndrome. That's what you're talking about there. Afraid of not realizing my potential, terrifying, fear of failing. Yeah, we've got to think about, what does that mean to fail? How does one fail? It's all up here, isn't it? So number one, you are afraid of dying. You are afraid that whatever you have will come to an end. So all loss of a loved one, fear of death. Loss of my watch, fear of death. My ring that I wear on my finger that my beautiful partner gave to me, if I lose that, I'll be very, very upset. I'm terrified of losing it, because it's a metaphorical death, a losing of something. We're afraid of death. We are all absolutely terrified of being alone, being by ourselves. Someone said, I'm afraid of getting old. I wonder if your fear of getting old is the fear of being alone, that you'll have no one to look after you, that no one to take care of you, no one to love you. It's a terrifying prospect. We, from an existential perspective, we're all alone. In fact, all of these, we're all going to die. We are all alone, and yet it scares the absolute hell out of us. Meaninglessness. Someone said, not realizing my potential. That's about meaning. What is my potential? How do I know how to realize it? How do I know how to live up to my potential? What am I here for anyway? One answer: don't know. Don't know what you're here for. Don't know what I'm here for. Don't know why we're all here. With the word why in the sentence. Maybe the word why doesn't even belong in the sentence. Am I here? I'm here. So we're all terrified that what we're doing has no point, has no purpose, has no meaning. And all of the fears that you're talking about will fit into one of these. So fear, that sort of stage fright that people are talking about, that sort of public exposure, that's a fear of being alone. That's a fear that you will judge me and not accept me, and then I will be alone, which terrifies me. Responsibility. Yeah, people are like, I'm not afraid of responsibility. Yes, you are. Yeah, that person who's in a high position at work, suffering with self-confidence, it's all about responsibility. The higher you go up in your organization, the more responsibility you have, and the more that your choices have consequences that impact upon other people. How do I know that I'm making the right choices? Bad news. You can't know you're making the right choices. That's why it's so scary. And we're all afraid of the anxiety created by the fear of dying, being alone, our choices and being meaningless, and the responsibility that we have by virtue of being humans in the world. The responsibility, by the way, comes from freedom. We have freedom to choose. In this moment, I could do a gazillion different things. I could throw my bottle out the window. I could go off the screen. I could turn off the laptop and leave you all hanging going, where's he gone? Or I could continue with this webinar, and I could do it in an infinite number of ways. Which is the right way? What's the right thing to do? What are the consequences going to be of my actions? I'm responsible for that. And the consequence of facing death, of facing the fact that I'm alone, of facing the grapple with, like, what is the meaning of my life? What is the meaning of my actions? What is the meaning of these relationships? What's the meaning of my role in my job? And facing the fact that I'm free and my freedom has consequences, I'm responsible for those consequences, all brings up anxiety. And so a lot of us, we're not just afraid of those things and all the things that they flow into in our lives, but we're afraid of the anxiety as well. And I don't think society's not really helping at the moment. To a great extent, anxiety has been made into its own bogeyman. Oh my gosh, don't get anxiety. If you have that anxiety thing, then you might have to go to a hospital. You might have to get some medication because there might be something wrong with you. Kids, don't be anxious, because anxiety might mean that you're actually getting on with your life and living your life. Can't not be anxious. I think I've said this in webinars before. For those that have been to my webinars before, the only way to not be anxious is to be dead or in a coma. So if you want to be anxious, if you don't want to be anxious, those are the answers. Otherwise, at some level, you're always anxious, because you're always dying. You're always dealing with the fact that you're alone and trying to connect with other human beings. You're always grappling with meaning and meaninglessness, and how do you live a meaningful life? And you're always grappling with, I've got this freedom between the time that I'm born and the time that I die. and I've got to do something with that freedom, but that freedom has consequences, and I'm responsible for those consequences. And so all of these things make me anxious. Take a breath. Let's just take a moment to be with that. See how that settles in you. What comes up for you as you hear those fears, those universal fears, those things that we're all afraid of. What happens when you think about facing it? Because like what we're doing is we're stepping into the fears. Like, okay, I'm anxious. Okay, I'm scared. Okay, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. Okay, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to be. Okay, I don't know what the right thing is to do. Okay, I don't know what the right thing is to do. So how do we have courage in the face of these ultimate concerns? Paul Tillich was a famous philosopher and a theologian and a therapist. He wrote a book called The Courage to Be. And the entire thesis of his book, and it was a very influential book, is that we're always grappling with this precipice that is famously quoted in Shakespeare: to be or not to be. That is the question. And that we always are able to sort of walk this tightrope between, do I choose life? Do I choose to be? Do I choose to allow myself to become in the world? Do I choose to allow myself to be seen, to reveal myself, to act in the way that seems the most appropriate for me in that moment? Or do I choose to not be? Do I choose to hide? Do I choose to shrink? Do I choose to pull away? And that is how moment to moment we are living in that relationship with the reality of impending death. So Tillich says, be brave enough to be. Choose being, choose to live, choose to step into, say yes. About courage in the face of aloneness. The silver lining of aloneness is that, the reality is that in the entire universe, big universe out there, we're one planet, one solar system. There is like so many solar systems in this galaxy. I don't know the number, millions, billions. And then there's like heaps of galaxies. They've all got millions of billions of solar systems with a dozen planets each, with all the moons around the planets. A lot of stuff out there. There's only one of you. So by definition, you're unique. You're special. Your contribution to this reality, to this life, to this world that we live in is absolutely unique. Only you can bring the contribution that you bring, and only you can know what the possibilities of that contribution are. And that's where you require courage. At the same time, we all need connection to survive. It's not just about want to connect. If babies don't have connection, they die. You can feed them, you can look after them, you can give them like a teddy bear to hold. But if they don't have a human being to interact with, they won't survive. This is an image from Brene Brown's, it's actually a short from a Brene Brown speech on empathy. And in order to connect with other people in a way that's actually meaningful and gets through our aloneness, we need to be open. We need to be open, and I just really love this phrasing, an openness to the otherness of the other. And it's a funny little phrasing, but what it means is that in order to meet you and actually have a connection with you, I need to see you as the never-ending flow of information and energy, in constant change that you are. Yeah, this unique cosmic being that you are. And I need at the same time to let you have the opportunity to see me. I need to be willing to be vulnerable enough to be seen by you. And both of those things takes courage. It's easier to go, you know what? I'm just going to box people up. There's good people, there's bad people. There's Christians and there's non-Christians. There's this color and there's that color. And I'm going to box you up, and that's going to make it easier. I'm not going to be open to your otherness. I'm just going to categorize you. But that's safer, but you don't get the connection. And I can also lock myself behind a big wall and go, you know what? No one's getting in. You know why? Because I got hurt. Yeah, I let someone in once and I got hurt. And I'm never going to let anyone in again. I'm going to stay here behind my wall all alone. I'll gripe and complain about everybody else. And it takes courage to then go, actually, I'm going to let you see me. I sort of love the idea that, you can be in a relationship with someone. And if you don't show them who you are, they can never love who you are. So if you never show someone who you really are, you have this part of you that goes, you know what? You don't really love me because you don't know who I really am. But you can't really love me because I won't show you who I really am. So it's this self-perpetuating cycle. It takes courage. It takes courage to come out of that. There's a lovely book by Ikaro Kishimi and Fumitaki Koga. It's sold millions and millions of copies, and it's called The Courage to Be Disliked. And so part of this courage story is, you know what? I'm okay if you don't like me. Now, I really struggled with this one. Like, I always wanted to be liked by everyone. And when there was the kid in the schoolyard that wanted to pick on me and bully me and call me names, my brain just went, there's a person that doesn't like me. I can't cope. But the courage to be happy also includes the courage to be disliked. If I'm okay with someone else not liking me, then actually, as the quote says there, when you've gained that courage, your interpersonal relationships will all at once change into things of lightness. I'm okay with me, and I'm okay with you not being okay with me. That's fine, because I'm still okay. It takes courage. Courage in the face of meaninglessness. So for meaninglessness, I'm going to go to Viktor Frankl, who wrote the book that you see, The Man's Search for Meaning. And as you can see, there's some barbed wire fences. So the reference is to the Holocaust, where Viktor Frankl was taken into a concentration camp by the Nazis. He was separated from his wife and child. He had all of his clothes, all of his belongings, his glasses, his gold in his teeth, all taken off him and put into just a standard prisoner's uniform and just forced to work with very, very little food, very poor conditions, freezing cold. But Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist, and he didn't stop being a psychiatrist just because he was a prisoner of war. And so he decided that he'd use his skills to see what this would do to people. And he looked around, and what he noticed was that some people died. Some people just faded away. They could not hang on. They could not find a reason to hang on. It was pointless. They'd lost their identity. They'd lost any sense of value or self-worth, and they were completely at the mercy of the cruelty of the guards and the Nazi system. And then there were other people who just would not give up, who just found little ways every day to be a little bit defiant, to find a little bit of hope, to just keep on going. And you thought, well, what's the difference? And why am I one of the second lot of people? Well, I'm one of the second lot of people, first of all, because I'm doing this work. And I hope that one day I'll get out and I'll be able to take my message to the world, which he did. And he also thought to himself, well, I don't know where my wife and child are. I don't think that they've survived. I can't see how they could have survived. Who could survive this? But maybe they've survived. And if they've survived, then they're going to need me when we get out of this. They're going to want to see me. They're going to want to know that I did everything I could to stay alive. It's like, well, what is that? Well, it's meaning. It's purpose. I've got a reason to live. I've got a purpose of what I'm going to do while I'm here that's meaningful to me. Yes, people lose their identity when they lose their job. Exactly. Their sense of meaning and purpose is tied to their job. And they retire and they're like, whoa, who am I now? So when I work with people in retirement, it's all about, okay, who are you? Who do you want to be? And often you go back, you go, okay, before you went to work, back when you were a kid, what did you want to do? What did you like doing? I love doing model airplanes, but I can't do that now. It's a kid's thing. Go get a model airplane, see where it goes. And you're like, oh, model, and then suddenly model airplanes. And hang on a second, did you know how many model airplanes are out there? And do you know what you can do with them? And you can put an engine in them. You can go. There's actually a club. You can go to the club and you can fly model airplanes in the club. I had no idea that this existed. Help people find their meaning. So these are quotes from Viktor Frankl. Have the courage to respond, not react. So a reaction is kind of instinctive. It comes from our earlier life experience. It's habitual. It's what we do. It's what our body's biological mechanisms say, blah, and we react. And Frankl says, well, have the courage to respond, not react. The one thing you can't take away from me is the way I choose to respond to what you do to me. And the last of one's freedom, the last of human freedom, when everything else is stripped away, is to choose one's attitude in any given circumstances. And that takes courage. I get to choose what my attitude is, what my mood is, what intention I bring to any situation that I'm in. And yes, I've got all of this history and all of this biology that's wanting to react to what's going on here, but I don't have to react. I can choose how I respond. Sometimes I need to take a deep breath. I need to pause. I need to ask for a break. And I need to go away and think and talk and write and go, how do I want to be in this situation? What do I want my attitude to be? How do I want to respond? But I do have that choice. And then have the courage to make your own meaning. So often meaning is imposed upon us, but it takes courage to go, you know what? That's not my meaning. I don't want to do it that way. So many conversations. The last conversation, I had a conversation to my head. It's like the guy struggling with, oh my God, I don't want to be one of those guys that I see in the corporate roles. I don't want to be one of them. I want to do it my own way. Okay. You know, oh, I can't. If you're not like them, then you don't get the promotion. Really? Why don't you test that theory? How do you want to be? How do you want to make this work? Figure it out. Life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose. All right, courage in the face of freedom. So freedom is, people are like, yeah, freedom, yay. No, freedom sucks. Everything that you do in life has a consequence, and you are responsible for that consequence. And many of us, most of us, we shy away from those consequences. It's scary. It's power. Like freedom is power. You know, I've got power. I don't know how I'm going to use it, and don't know what the impacts of it are going to be, and that scares me. And that's the counterpoint to responsibility. I'm responsible for those consequences. But this is what people say. People who are close to death, looking back on their life, this is what they say about the choices that they made and the way that they used their freedom. And very often you hear from people they've got regrets. People at the end of life are very, very, very much concerned about having regrets and not wanting to have regrets. And they consistently recommend that in order to not have regrets, say sorry. Forgive those that have hurt you. And we don't forgive people for them. We do it for us. You know what? I forgive you. You know, you did that. It hurt me. I believe that you were doing the best you could with the resources that you had at the time. And I'm not going to let that thing that you did sit with me for the rest of my life. So I forgive you and I move on. Have more life experiences. Have more fun. Travel more. Get out more. Try new things. Spend time playing. Whatever the thing is that you like playing, play. Encourage to play. It's making me think of my kids actually at the moment. All they want to do is play video games. I'm like, get off their video games. It's like, oh. Part of me's like, oh, you're having fun. Having fun by yourself. You're having fun with your friends. Spend more time with the people that you love. Yeah. Everyone at the end of life says, don't work so much. Spend the time spend the time that you can with the people that you love, the people that you care about. Tell them that you love them. Tell them that you care about them. Do more of what you want to do for yourself and less of what others want you to do for them. So what is it that you want to do for yourself? What is it that you enjoy? What is it that makes you feel good? What is it that brings you meaning and purpose? That's where the next one comes in. Spend more time helping other people by volunteering and doing charitable work. Together, we derive a lot of meaning, a lot of pleasure, a lot of joy in our lives, a lot of satisfaction from volunteering and doing charitable work. And if you look at all these things, they all take courage. It takes courage to say, I forgive you. It takes courage to say sorry. It takes courage to plan an adventure to a place I've never been before, and I can't speak the language, and I don't know where I'm going to stay, and I don't know what I'm going to eat, and I don't know what I'm going to do when I get there. It takes courage to say no to more work, more hours, and more pay, and yes to, yeah, let's go camping. Let's have dinner together. It takes courage to say, I'm going to do this for me because it's what I want to do. And it takes courage to help people, because when we help other people, we see their pain, we see their suffering, and our empathy kicks in, and we feel their pain and we feel their suffering. So in order to get the benefits of the things on this list, we actually need to have courage. And then back to that original message, how to be courageous. Don't try and not be scared. Don't try and not be anxious. Don't be scared of your anxiety. Don't be scared of your fear. What's that quote? There's nothing to fear except fear itself. It's pretty true. So be afraid and do it anyway. Mark Twain said it 200 years ago. Courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, and not absence of fear. Mark Twain also said, sing like no one's listening, love like you've never been hurt, dance like nobody's watching, and live like it's heaven on earth. All circumstances where we need to have courage to take the risk of putting ourselves out there, of being vulnerable, of being judged by other people, and being willing to take that chance. So, as always, lots of good resources on the Outprize app. Lots of excellent modules that are very, very helpful. I use them a lot in my own coaching and therapy sessions. You can also book a session with myself or someone like me through the app if you're signed up with Outprize, and most of your organizations will be signed up with Outprize, so that's why you're here. And take advantage of it. Please share the feedback through the link. Thanks, everyone. Really, I hope you've enjoyed. I really enjoyed being here today. I really hope you've enjoyed it too. Enjoy. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Hope you didn't get too scared.